So I'm going to be referencing two different websites. The first one is Limitless TCG. This is a tournament hosting site where almost everyone hosts their community tournaments on. It has a bunch of different information as well as deck lists. I'm also going to be referencing Pokemon Meta. This is hosted by another creator, Decade, and it's a great website because they upload a bunch of different community tournament deck lists that have topped in like the top 32, and then they put them in a tier list with a power ranking. So as you can see, it's pretty easy to view. It says the power rankings are computed based on the number of decks each deck type plays in the latest 700 topping community tournament deck list. So that's how that works. We're going to talk about both these websites. The first deck here is exeggutor EX Celebi EX. So as you can see, it shows the count, the amount of decks that have been used in 178 tournaments, as well as the amount of players up here and matches, which is a ton. 77,000 matches have been played recently, and it shows the win percentage on the right hand corner. So anyways, exeggutor EX Celebi EX is fantastic. I'm sure you know, I'm sure you've seen it. It's even ranked in tier 1 on Pokemon Meta too, so you know for a fact that this is probably the best deck performing right now in the game, because I think in part there's so many darkrai's, and darkrai is weak to grass. Darkrai Magnezone doesn't perform well against it because, you know, Darkrai is weak to grass, so of course it gets shredded. But you pretty much want to start with Exeggutor on the active zone, doing that early game damage before Darkrai can get set up. And then you can, later in the game, if they bring out Magnezone, you bring out Celebi from your bench with a ton of energy on it, flip a bunch of coins, and just destroy Magnezone in one shot. So this is easily the best deck in the game right now. 54% win rate is also really, really good. And this is kind of a breakdown of what that looks like. Now, on Pokemon Meta, we have Tier 2. It says Skarmory, Darkrai, EX Magnezone, and Charizard. But the second deck that is... Actually, let's sort by win percentage. So the highest win percentage here is Darkrai Magnezone. But this is from like the past, I think, month. So I believe they've fallen off. This is just results from earlier, but since they started doing so well and had such a high win percentage, Celebi came out of nowhere to start countering them. So I think Darkrai is still tier 2. I believe it's better than Skarmory. I don't know why this is so high. Skarmory is very good though. We're going to talk about that in a second, but I do believe Darkrai is probably the second best deck in the game right now. It does fairly well against almost every deck in the game. It has a pretty good matchup percentage. And as you can see, without Celebi being in the meta, it is going to have a great win rate, and a lot of players are playing it still too, so that's good to see. Third highest win rate is Darkrai EX Greninja. This is also insanely good. This deck is actually ranked all the way down here in tier 3, so I think these power rankings are actually more recent than all these stats combined. So I would say that Darkrai is just getting bullied right now by Exeggutor, and it's being pushed all the way down further than it honestly should be, in my opinion. I believe Darkrai EX Greninja is not as strong as the Magnezone variant, and I would put it at the very top of tier 3, potentially in tier 2. But as of right now, it's just a worse version of this, so less players are playing it, and it's getting bullied by Exeggutor. But still very good, and I would recommend you use it. It has almost a 54% win rate. All right, so here we go. Fourth is another Magnezone deck. This is Magnezone Skarmory. This one has been performing insanely well recently, but it has a 54% win rate. So this is not quite as high as these top two, but it's actually higher than Greninja, which obviously, and it's actually placed tier 2 above Darkrai Magnezone. But like I said, this is lower than I think it should be. I would put Skarmory definitely tier 2. It has really good early game. You just put one cape on it, one Rocky Helmet, you're doing 50 damage early, and then bring out Magnezone later. And it doesn't run any EXs, so that you actually have to destroy 3 Pokemon just to get through it. It's a very strong deck, but I believe it's still a little bit worse than Darkrai. If in a one-on-one matchup, it would perform worse, but it's doing better in the meta right now because the meta is just so focused on shutting down Darkrai. So in terms of raw power versus all the decks in the game, I would put it right below Darkrai EX Magnezone. Now, next up is Charizard. Actually, wait, Charizard's not even... Where's Charizard at here? What the... Okay. Interesting. Let's not talk about Charizard next. I want to go by win percentage, honestly, so... Let's talk about Palkia Articuno. This is a very strong deck. We got Manaphy, which boosted all water decks, and it shows for sure because there is almost a 54% win rate with this. It's not being used that much at all. I thought it would be used way more in tournaments. Only 100. Wow, what? That's crazy. I'm trying to look at the results right now. Second out of 504, 38th, fourth, fifth. Okay, there's no first place. What? There's no first place rankings for this deck. Why does it have such a high win percentage? Here, let's change this. Okay, I sorted this by popularity, and it changed a little bit. It says Palkia Vaporeon is actually higher. Let me see here. Oh, on this site, yeah, it also says Palkia Vaporeon's doing better. What about Articuno? Okay, this is Articuno Magnezone. I actually have never seen that before. I'm going to count this Articuno variant the same as the Vaporeon, because I know the Vaporeon deck list, a lot of people are actually running Articuno inside of it. So we're just going to count that all the same with the Palkia Vaporeon. This deck, I think it's good, but you really need the perfect setup for it to perform well. So there's a reason why it's actually below Gyarados right now, and I agree with this ranking completely. It also, I mean, it places decently, actually fairly consistently, but I think it gets destroyed by Magnezone. Like, it just gets shut down by Magnezone. So I don't know if it'll ever be tier 1 just because of that reason. And I think there's a fair placement for it, probably in the middle or higher tier 3. I agree with that. But now that we sorted it by popularity, we actually see Charizard Moltres is here, and Charizard Moltres, I think it's running like the same deck list it's been running since Genetic Apex. It's just really solid because Charizard itself is a great card, as well as Moltres, which is just energy ramping too. It's hard to deal with Charizard, especially if you throw Cape on it as 200 HP. It's very, very strong. And Charizard, I think the reason it's tier 2 right now is because Exeggutor is so popular. It also can deal with Darkrai Magnezone as long as, you know, you get lucky with your draw and are able to evolve fairly quickly, as well as get lucky with your coin flips. It's easily able to deal with Darkrai. It's worse because it's not as consistent, because you do rely on coin flips, you do rely on drawing all your evolutions. So it's definitely worse than Darkrai, but it's easily tier 2 because of the strength of Charizard. I gotta speed this video up. We are already at the 8-minute mark. All right, I'm gonna speed through a couple of these. We're not gonna cover them as in depth. I just wanted to really talk about these top tier ones. So I think I've covered each of these right now, except for Gyarados Greninja. So this is actually played a lot. 49% win rate though, which is pretty decent. It's actually a higher win rate than Charizard Moltres, but I think this is low right here because Charizard just recently became popular and started dominating recently because of Celebi. But anyways, Gyarados EX Greninja, this is a very strong deck. Again, Gyarados is kind of a hard carry. I actually don't know. Oh, I guess it's been placing well recently because this green arrow means it bumped up from tier 4 to tier 3. I don't know why, but yeah, actually you can see these placements are from a day or two ago, and these are doing, it's placing very well. I think maybe people just stepped away from it for some reason and then just went back to it recently and discovered, hey, it's actually pretty good. I think Gyarados EX is better than Palkia. That might be a bad take, I don't know, but I really think it is. It's just stronger in general, and it's more, I guess it's not, I don't know if it's, I think it might be more consistent because with Palkia, you have to discard energy to even get over that Druddigon. And with Gyarados, if they choose not to attack Druddigon, you can always use Greninja on your bench. So there's multiple win conditions. I think Gyarados is better personally. I think it's just a little bit better. Or maybe even if it's not better, it's very comparable. Like these, it has the same power ranking for a reason. I really think this is accurate, and I completely agree with that. Pachirisu, on the other hand, I don't know. I cannot believe, what is this, first in 128 players? How is this ranked so high? 100, these are not big tournaments that it's doing well in. What? Wait, where is it ranked over here for win percentage? Let me see. It's actually 54%. Almost 53.5. Wow, that's better than I thought it would be. I guess because it's just consistent, right? I don't know, man. It's hard to it's hard for me to put this so high. You only have 2 Pokemon in your deck. You lose one of them, you're cooked. I don't know. I would put this below Gyarados, and I guess it's so good against Palkia though. It's so good early game against Palkia. It shuts it down. Oh my god, it's so hard for me to put it above these two. I don't know. I would put it below them. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would put it below Gyarados and Palkia. I can't see that. Anyways, just do what you want with that information. I do think it's below these two. All right, next up we have Dialga EX Yanmega. This is a crazy good deck. I love this deck. You're able to ramp really fast. You can do cheap damage. You do 120 damage for 3 energy. There's a lot of options to using it. I really like it. I just don't think it's super creative, and I think sometimes, especially if you go first, you're going to be too slow and get overwhelmed pretty easily. So I would put this in tier 4 too. I agree with this. I'm going to cover each of these really quick. I think we covered all the top tier decks so far, and we talked about them enough in depth. Next up is Infernape. I'm surprised it's doing better recently. I'm actually really surprised by that. I think people are finally figuring out how to play it. You really have to use the Don variant, the one that we see here. I think that's the only viable way. But again, it's a stage 2 with only one win condition, which is attacking with Infernape. Also, if you attack with Infernape and you don't have Don to follow up, you have to wait a turn, and then you might be cooked a little bit, especially with Cyrus in the meta right now, where they can bring Infernape back out. So I agree with that. I think there is some definite weaknesses to it, and it should be in tier 4. Next up is Weavile. So Weavile Darkrai, I thought was going to be way better when the set dropped. I still think it should be actually tier 3. I think it should be, but maybe it's being wrecked by Celebi. I don't know. I'm surprised it's not doing so much better, dude. This is crazy. I played with this deck, and I went on like a 20 win streak right when the update dropped. I thought it was gonna be so strong because you damage them with Darkrai, you use Don, you move the energy up, you do I guess like 90 damage in that turn, which is nuts. But I guess not. I think this should be a little bit higher. I feel like this should be top of tier 4. Next up is Marshadow Magnezone with Hitmonlee too. This is a really fun deck. This was actually performing way better earlier on, but I think people like realized how to counter it. Here's a top 4 placement, only 42 players actually. It's easily counterable right now, and yeah, I don't know. It's still a fun deck. Try it out if you haven't. I agree with its placement here. Next up is Lucario. Lucario Rampardos, you can kind of throw this in with anything. Of course, it's inconsistent because it is a fossil line that you're relying on to win, and fossils are kind of hard to draw into, but it's still fairly decent. I agree. Mid-tier, tier 4. We have this game is so healthy. Look how many decks we have here. This is actually shocking. And then we just have Exeggutor. This one's running Yanmega. Oh, these are all running Yanmega. This one's running Mew right here too, so I guess they're just lumping them all in together. I agree. I think it's tier 4. It just depends on what variant you're playing. I don't know why you would be playing this when Celebi exists, but I guess if you just want to be a little bit more creative, I would put this a little bit higher, actually, I think. Gallade EX is next. This is kind of hard to play because, again, it's bad against some matchups because in order for Gallade to do damage, you need your opponent to have energy on their Pokemon. So sometimes it just does not work against certain matchups. Unfortunate. So I would put this, again, I agree with this placement, a little bit lower on tier 4. I'm surprised Licky's even on here. I'll talk about that in a second. Next up is Articuno Magnezone. It's going to be good because it's Magnezone. Articuno is good early game too. You can sometimes win with Misty. Articuno can act as a wall, but again, it's not super tanky. It is an EX, so if you give up Articuno or it gets low, you retreat it, they Cyrus it back out, they destroy it, and then destroy Magnezone, you just lose. So there is some weaknesses there that you can definitely exploit. I agree. This should be lower on tier 4. Next up is just Magnezone. With just others Pokemon splashed in, I guess. Can you tell how good Magnezone is? It's everywhere. All right, but yeah, there's better variants of Magnezone that deserves to be tier 4. Greninja, what are you running with Greninja here? Just Druddigon Magnezone? Another Magnezone? I should have known there's Magnezone here. Oh, this one's just Greninja. Okay, so it's just Greninja without a main win condition, I guess. Next up is Licky. And Licky is terrible, in my opinion. I do not like it at all. I'm surprised it's even placing. That's crazy. With the Alga, I guess. But, dude, I flip tails. So I only do 100 damage for 4 energy, which for me, it's just not worth it. I think it's a bad card. I'm surprised that it's been placing somewhat in tournaments. I'm actually shocked by this. Maybe I need to revisit it. Maybe I'll flip heads next time. Anyways, I think that's it. I went through these tier 4 very quickly, but the ones that really matter are these tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Hit the like button, subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see y'all next time.